Many people believe modern architecture is ugly. To appreciate these buildings, you have to know the history of modern design.
In Germany in the 1920s, architects like Walter Gropius and Mies van der Rohe began to insist that modern life and modern materials called for a new kind of architectural form. Gropius and van der Rohe joined others in rejecting historical ornamentation and preaching that revolutionary design that broke completely with the past could change the world. No longer would buildings be symbols of status, wealth, and elitism. By using reinforced concrete, steel beams, flat roofs, and broad expanses of glass, architects would produce buildings that could be easily replicated as icons of an egalitarian society. Less is more, proclaimed van der Rohe. In the 1930s, Gropius and van der Rohe moved to the United States, Gropius to Harvard University, and van der Rohe to the Illinois Institute of Technology. Among the early American converts to modernism was Philip Johnson, then a young curator at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. Johnson helped mount a major exhibition in 1932 that celebrated the most progressive developments in European and American architecture.
Modern architecture found its way into North Carolina largely through the School of Design at North Carolina State. Henry Camp Hefner, who became the dean in 1948, trained dozens of local architects in the principles of modernism.
One was Praise Connor Lee. His home, built in Charlotte in 1963, exhibits many of the features of modernism. The front of the house is devoid of lavish ornamentation. It is the rear elevation that takes advantage of the contour of the land. Expanses of glass allow sunlight to pour into the living area. Listen to the owner.
And the fact that this gets the winter sun when you need winter sun and shade when you need it, I think it was marvelous the way it was laid out on this lot.
Many would be surprised to learn that the architect for the Home Finance Company building, erected in 1958 on South Tryon Street, won an award for his design. He was J. Norman Pease, Jr. The building has a flat roof and no applied ornamentation. Access to the second floor is provided by an exterior stairway, thereby eliminating the need for an interior hallway. And large windows allow sunlight to penetrate the south elevation.
J.N. Pease, Jr. designed the Charlotte Observer Building and the Modernist campus of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Government Center. The vista across Marshall Park to the skyscrapers beyond shows that J.N. Pease, Jr. was sensitive to the context of his plan. Charlotte also benefited from the talents of A.G. Odell, Jr. Odell, a native of Concord, came to Charlotte in 1939 after graduating from Cornell University. When he arrived, most of Charlotte's buildings were conservative and traditional. Odell became Charlotte's first champion of modern architecture. Look at some of his buildings, many of which have been destroyed.
Many of Odell's early projects were school buildings, such as the Second Ward High School Gymnasium, erected in 1948. The severe geometric form of the exterior is in keeping with the principles of mid-20th century modernism. Also note the band of windows that bring lots of sunlight into the building. The signature modernist building of Odell's career was the original Charlotte Coliseum. It opened to great fanfare in 1955. Its essential form is circular. The exterior, as you would expect, has lots of windows. The Coliseum is topped by an imposing dome.
Modernist design has fallen out of favor. Examples are falling into disrepair. This forlorn example on Elizabeth Avenue is awaiting demolition. Does it matter? Richard Alsop, chairman of the Historic Landmarks Commission, thinks so.
If we were to sort of remove modernism as something that the commission is going to look at, then there's a huge void in architectural history. So I think it's our duty and obligation, and it's something we look forward to, studying these modern buildings.
The Historic Landmarks Commission has identified the best examples of mid-20th century modernist buildings in Charlotte, Mecklenburg. They all deserve the special protection the Historic Landmarks designation would provide. Historic landmark designation would 1. Delay demolition for up to 1 year. 2. Allow the Historic Landmarks Commission to negotiate to purchase the property for resale with protective covenants in the deed. And 3. Provide design review over material alterations to the property.
I know that these examples of mid-century modernism really don't appeal to a lot of people, but they are important. They're part of our architectural history. They're part of our heritage. And the Historic Landmarks Commission believes it has a duty to bring them to the attention of the local governing board.